At the end of May, a company reached out to us. They're called Infinity Capital. It's an investment fund here in Sofia, and their focus is real estate. They had a challenging and complex task for us. They wanted to do an IPO. What that means is basically that the company is listed on the stock exchange, and now the general public would be able to buy stocks from that company. Having that in mind, what we had to do ourselves, and the first things we did was, of course, starting with the story. So we never start with the design as a first step in any way. So we started with the story to make sure that everything there is clear. What we did as a first step was get ourselves acquainted with the business plan. There was a very extensive business plan prepared with all possible scenarios and everything you need to know about the company. The second step was to do a very extensive research so that we understand very well the market and we know very well what are the dynamics and what could potentially influence a decision from investors' point of view or from the general person's point of view. So doing that actually gave us a lot of insight as to how we can create the story to make sure that it's impactful and it builds trust in the audience and in the potential investors. Of course, the second step was to align on the design and how the story can be transformed into a very effective and very well-working design.
The design approach, from the get-go, we knew it had to be minimalistic, and we wanted to go with an architectural feel. Since the client's project and what they're doing is connected with construction, so we knew that that would reinforce all their visuals and everything they're proposing. The biggest challenge in this project was the client's brand. Not that the brand was a problem, it had a bit too much colors that were a bit too bright for what we wanted to go for. So we limited the color palette to two colors, a navy and a gold. And we also decided to use the logo in only their black and white variants and discard the colored version. We also decided to use a serif typeface, which has a very editorial feel and also connects to the architectural and minimalistic look we wanted to go for. This presentation was packed with a lot of graphs that were very complicated. So it was very important that the data visualization is done right. We didn't only work with the designers, but we also included storytellers, and we had brainstorm sessions where we discussed each slide and what should be seen, what information is the most important, what to accentuate, how it will be read by a viewer, and also if a viewer sees the slide but didn't hear what the presenter is talking about, can he get it right away and can he get it in the right way?
This project?
Okay. The third thing we had to do was the delivery part. So there was a complex element there because the presentation was delivered in front of a virtual audience, meaning that we had to adapt everything to make sure it works for that particular environment. This means the design, also the story, how people would be reading the slides and all of that. So once we aligned with the team that everything we've prepared in terms of story makes sense for them and they would be able to explain every point that they're making, because if you think about it, it's extremely important for them to be able to reply to any potential question, because when you're doing a presentation that is that huge, you might have extremely hard questions. So we also had to think about them, like what would be a question you would get asked and can you answer it? If you cannot answer it, let's find a reply actually before the event. So all of these things we had to prepare and we had to make sure they know it and they understand it and they know what are the risks. So after 2 months of work and constant back and forth between us as storytellers and also the design team and also the client, we already had the final product. The presentation went really well and the results so far are really satisfying for them. They have plenty of meetings with potential investors, a lot of requests through their website and basically social media channels, and are constantly in talks with different people as to how they can invest once the moment is correct.